Saudi Arabia, Russia, the UAE, and others have announced a surprise oil production cut of a combined 1.6 million barrels, which has pushed prices back up. The official argument is that this is a precautionary and preemptive measure to tackle a decline in demand for oil. More importantly, there have been jitters among some OPEC states at the fall in oil prices over the past few months. Remember, the OPEC states suffered over the past decade with the collapse of oil prices, and a number of economies were shaken to the core, forced to impose austerity measures, which sparked protests in some states. The return of high oil prices have provided a relief, a buffer in the treasury, a cushion on which to sit as OPEC states plan their diversification strategies, and it makes sense that OPEC would want to protect that by cutting production and keeping prices high. In other words, there are valid market reasons in the eyes of OPEC states for such a move. However, the reality is that this is as much a political decision as it is a decision driven by market forces. Firstly, Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman was expecting a gesture of goodwill or sincerity from Biden. He was expecting that Biden would purchase Saudi oil to restock US reserves that had been used by Biden last year to try to keep domestic prices down. Instead, Biden announced last week that he would not be making those purchases, essentially irritating the Saudis, who have been trying to threaten him by inviting China's premier to Riyadh, giving China a so-called diplomatic victory in its truce with Iran, and pushing through with the process to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. In other words, it's very possible that these cuts, of which Saudi will carry most of the burden, Saudi and Russia, is a political lashing out at Biden, who has again refused to take bin Salman's bait. Secondly, it's no secret that bin Salman wants a Republican back in the White House next year. Biden is struggling to tackle inflation, and bin Salman has used oil policy as a weapon against Biden, such as when he announced oil cuts last year, just 1 month before the US midterm elections, a move that even the UAE thought was too much. It's worth noting, however, that these new cuts are not an official OPEC agreement, but are instead voluntary, suggesting Saudi may be prepared to reverse these cuts in exchange for political expediency with Biden.